You have free will. That's not given by your parents or your partner or your friends or the community or society. That is innate to you in your beingness. A lot of the times we are behaving and being and thinking and deciding based on everybody around us. I'm not saying that there shouldn't be some rules or some standards, but when it comes to these conversations of abuse, manipulation, there's very, very clear lines of what our responsibility is for ourselves, because the more you stay with an abusive person, you become the abusive person. Again, maybe you're not in this situation and maybe you were controlled. Maybe there's some part of your life that was controlled when you were younger and it's still affecting you today. Maybe you're not in this, dramatic and very unsafe situation where you're getting physically or mentally abused, but you still have controllers in your mind based on what you grew up with. So if you grew up thinking, oh, somebody's saying that that's not okay, and you really like that thing and you're not doing it and you're suppressing yourself. So I'm putting this out in the ether for whoever needs that safety, that permission slip, that I deserve to be happy. I deserve to be free. I deserve to choose who I want to be with. I deserve to look like how I want to look and go through my process of becoming. You as a human individual, you deserve to have peace within your mechanism, your physical body and your mind. You could be facing extreme, very blatant control and abuse, or it's subtle. Either ways, there's a certain safety that you have to have in your mind, body, and mechanism to actually live a good life. The extreme cases, I'm going to say it straight off the bat. If you're getting physically abused, that is not okay. I'm not saying that those people that do that are evil, are bad. They're mentally ill as well, because a human hurting another human is illness. If you're in a situation where people will not want you to leave and want to subject you to that abuse, they will do everything in your power to keep you. They will do everything in their power to control you and continue the abuse. It's you that has to understand that you deserve better. Just one time being abused physically on your body leaves your spirit and your mind really broken. You must go. I don't care if it's by your parents, if it's by your partner, if it's by whoever, you must leave. If the parent was abused, they're going to abuse their child, whether it's mentally, verbally, physically. If your partner was abused, more than likely they will abuse you. I understand that a lot of circumstances don't allow you to leave, but the goal is, okay, if it can't happen today, how is it going to happen? What resources do I need to seek help? How do I strengthen myself to be able to handle this? That's not a situation you want to be in. That's not okay. It doesn't matter how much you care about the person. It doesn't matter how much you care about your parents. It's not okay. I've known way too many people. I've had way too many cases where people don't know if it's okay to leave, don't have the confidence that they'll be able to be okay on their own, subject themselves to this situation when you are a human being, your life matters, and you don't need to be anywhere that you're not being treated well. The more you are put down based on whatever the other person, whoever, could even be friends, could even be family, could even be anybody, whatever it is that they're putting you down about, it's going to keep you limited in what you feel like you can do for yourself, how much you love yourself. It'll limit you. So if someone's constantly, like, imagine this, if someone's constantly telling me that I'm not good and I'm awful, I'm going to think that about myself. If your parents did that to you growing up, you're going to think really poorly about yourself, and you're not going to push yourself to your highest limits, and so that you can live in the greatest way that you can. I've had people stay in marriages 20, 30, 40 years while they're getting physically abused. That is not okay. Some of these people would ask if God is going to be mad at me if I leave my husband. This is extreme oppression of your mind and your faith. Religious oppression can also be in this extreme category, because sometimes family or your community or your parents or whoever will disown you if you practice your faith in a different way, if you believe something different, if you live your lifestyle a different way. And because of that family attachment, a lot of the times we feel guilty for doing it that way. That's another indicator. If you cannot be yourself truly, and you kind of have to sit behind your eyelids and just kind of pay attention to how you're going to be, what you're going to say, how you're going to say, of course, that could have things to do with your own personal development, whether you're shy, whatever the case is. You could have different things about your own personality that needs to be developed to be able to be in communication with other people. However, there's a different degree of, I can't be myself because this person doesn't allow me to be myself, especially if you're the kind of person that you're allowing people to kind of be, but they don't hold that same space for you. That's very unsafe, because you're also in the relationship not being nourished. And when people are in relationship where both people are not being nourished, whether it's parent to child, friend to friend, or brother to sister, I'm talking about any human around you, and you're having this relationship with them, if you guys are not giving and taking at the same rate, one person or another is going to feel unfulfilled. And that's when the lying, cheating, backstabbing, if you cannot be upfront about your feelings to someone, it's not the safest way, because at the end of the day, one person or another, something is going to happen to rupture the relationship. That bothered me, or hey, I'm sorry. If you can't do those kinds of things, it's not a safe relationship. It's not a place where you feel safe. Because I've had way too many people stay in physical abuse or tolerate physical abuse and verbal abuse. And it's not to say one is worse or the other, or it's all bad. Also, when you're seeing people in that situation, if somebody's staying in a negative marriage, or if somebody's, if somebody's tolerating something, like, your life is not their life. You don't have the same perception. You don't have the same emotional capacity as that person. The most you can do is just offer support. You don't have to go fix anybody else's problems. But the last thing you want to say is, oh, if that was me, that's not you. I understand why you're saying that. And maybe you love that person and you're thinking, why aren't you leaving? Why aren't you doing something? Why aren't you fighting for yourself? That's fair. But the most you can do is tell them and uplift them and love on them to help them understand that they deserve better. Yes, it's okay to communicate and understand each other's perspectives, but there's a difference of somebody enforcing themselves onto you. You have free will. Culturally, based on our history, based on our relationships, we may feel like we cannot do this. However, by virtue of being human, at birth, you've had that. If you like something and I don't, that's okay. If I like something and you don't, that's okay. But usually, if you're my child and I need you to be a certain way, you cannot. You cannot marry the person that you want. You cannot do this job. You must do this. A lot of the times, especially in Desi community, you had to have a practical career. You cannot do something creative, which then makes us think that we don't have creativity within us, which is, again, by virtue of being human at birth, you were creative. Now, if you got stunted by your parents saying, no, you must do this, this doesn't make sense, no shame on them, no shade on them. They did what they had to do, and they immigrated to this country and all of that stuff. But I need you to understand that if you're still thinking like this, why that's unsafe to you is because then you become bitter. Then you started a job that you don't really want, a career that you don't want. You don't know how to change it. You think that you are lacking this special gift that only other people have that you don't have, which you do, which only has been shut out because you were told that don't focus on. And now you have this poor self-image that I'm not valuable, I'm not worthy, I don't have anything creative, or I have this thing inside of me that I've wanted to do this for so long, but I can't. That's detrimental to your human nature and expansion, because then you're going to stay in this box that you're really not. And it's not about, oh, I'm creative and I want to make money off of it or not. Creativity is important for you as a human being to express yourself. You could be very negative about this, thinking that, oh, people make artwork for $10,000 and it's like a pile of crap. It's not about the price tag or the pile of crap. It's that this human person felt that their art is meaningful because it helped them process something out from their consciousness, and somebody else relates to it and they were willing to pay $10,000. Really what it is you wish you could make something, that looks seemingly meaningless for $10,000. But also the reason why you don't is because you don't respect the avenue of what just happened. Somebody created something from their inside, from their own perspective, and somebody related to it. The next person probably doesn't. That's okay. The point is, they let it out and they put it to the marketplace. We all have a free will to be able to put something to the marketplace if we want to, period. It's unsafe for you because if you're not expressive, you're bottling in your emotion. You're not letting it out in one way or another. Your creativity, the thing that you think you don't have but you do, and it's stirring inside of you and causing you to feel awful and constricted. Then you feel unsatisfied. You feel unsatisfied at the job. And what happens? You don't have a good quality of energy, and you spill that out onto your partner. You spill that out onto your kids. You feel unfulfilled in your life because you're blocking this human nature thing that you have just because of cultural conditioning told you that this is not for you. You must do this. If somebody is controlling you to pick who you want to marry, look, understand this. Yes, you have to make a very good decision. You cannot set yourself up with someone who's going to literally ruin your life. You cannot set yourself up with someone who doesn't respect you. You cannot set yourself up with someone who you and them, they don't have a like-mindedness in the way you're going to work and live and grow a family or do whatever it is that you want to do. But then a lot of the parents will just say that just so they can control the situation, because if you bring somebody nice to your parents and they say no, they have to give you a good reason. Okay, I don't need to get into the particulars about what religion says, but just think about it. If you actually picked someone nice, good, kind, loving, supportive, and they actually take interest in your betterment and your health and your safety and the love, again, safety, right? That's why this is so important. Someone that actually cares about your heart, your mind, your body. They care about you and they do good work in the world. And just because, let's say, they're not from the same culture, they're not from the same whatever it is, but you're okay with it and you don't see anything wrong and they don't give you a good reason, I don't need to tell you. You can find out that information on your own based on what your faith is. If somebody is adding to my life, adding value to my life, they're a good, decent person, they're a good-hearted person, they're kind, they're ambitious, they have all these good qualities. Let's say both of you are, you're very much healed, whatever abuse or trauma or whatever issues that you've had, you're self-developed, you're in that developed area. There's no reason that God would say no. Why would God want two really great people to not be together? Think about that the next time your parents are saying, no, this is the right thing. Desi Muslim people are particularly, a lot of marriages that we're in right now, yeah, they ended up messing up your whole entire life because either you got married way too soon and you didn't develop yourself, you didn't study mental health, or to no fault of their own, they didn't value their own mental health. That's why we don't. That's another form of oppression, because literally in many countries, people are killing themselves because they cannot be with the person that they want to. Is it really worth it? I don't think anything is life. The experience of life is a miracle in itself. So every single thing that happens, I can use it or be it and feel it to the best or not. There's nothing to water down in life. Every single thing amazes me, particularly. Everything amazes me. And so if there's something that really, really matters to me, I don't want to deprive myself of that, even if it's the smallest thing. Think about it this way. We all have a lot of stuff going on. Am I going to deprive myself of this one thing or this thing that means a lot to me just because somebody else said so? Just because somebody said that, oh, what are people going to say? It's not accepted. That's not good. You're a bad person for doing that. You deserve to have what you need to have. You're not harming anybody. You're not trying to hurt anybody. A lot of people will be like, okay, well, I might hurt my parents if I do this. Nobody let you have permission to think, why don't my parents care about my feelings being hurt if they're keeping me from doing something or being something that I truly am? That's unsafe because you are more prone to developing depression and not even knowing it because you weren't told to pay attention to your mental health. You are more prone to have marital issues. You are more prone to have issues with your children. And I don't care if it's just, I want to dress this way. That matters. If somebody's telling you how to dress or calling you names because you're dressing a certain way or telling you that that's okay or that's not okay, look, if we were in heaven, we could be walking around naked and nothing would happen. We'd have like these little whatever patches and we'd be fine because we'd be in heaven and we're not afraid of being raped or something like that, okay? We all know what human form looks like. We all know what it looks like, but there's a reason why we have to dress a certain way. So yes, I have particular standards of how I dress myself, but the point is, having somebody else tell me what is right and wrong, or if I'm good or bad because of the way I'm dressing. If somebody around you said that color doesn't suit you, if you like the color, wear the freaking color. Just live your life. You should be able to develop how you want to dress, when you want to dress, to your liking, to your needs. My parents had a huge issue with the way I dressed. I used to wear hijab and then I stopped. It's my choice. I understand why they want to, but they also didn't live my life, have my experience to see why I don't dress the way that they want me to, or why I dress a certain way, why I like to conduct myself a certain way. And plus, on my own, I've had my own evolution of that. This all matters because it's personal self-expression, and it's also forcing you to be a certain way when you have your free will to develop and find out who you are by yourself in all realms. You could be controlled by, oh, don't leave. You can't leave for school. You can't leave for work. You can't move away. You can't do this. You can't do that. It's hard to do the things that you want to do when you have that attachment with your parents, but the repercussions of not being yourself are far greater than the temporary, I need to heal this situation. I need to deal with this. I need to confront this conversation and be myself. Now, if you're stuck in an abusive situation, you don't have a way of leaving. You don't have anyone to go to. Fine. Take the seed, put it in your mind that you deserve to be safe. You deserve to be respected. You should have free will to decide your life. It's so jumbled up with the abuse, the manipulation. The manipulation part is, oh, you don't love me. If you do that, you don't love me. But we never think to say, oh, so you can't let me be myself. You don't love me. The greater idea is if anybody needs you to be a certain way, they don't love you for the way that you are, and they don't allow you space to just be you. That's not love. That's, I'm getting something out of you being the way I want you to be. So be the way I want you to be. Not okay. There's a difference when somebody is trying to support you, understand you, hear you, give you advice, provided that you asked for it. somebody who's not trying to force their ideas onto you, it is totally okay to be open to communicate about a lot of things, but you have to do it with someone safe, somebody who's not going to fill your head in with certain things or put their ideologies onto you, and somebody who actually cares about your needs. What do you feel? What is important to you? What do you want from the situation? What do you want from the person? What matters to you? If you don't have someone containing you that way in friendship, in relationship, in marriage, with your parents, you need to do that for yourself. Nobody's going to come out here for your safety but yourself. Nobody's going to advocate for you more than yourself. And if you have found somebody that does, that's amazing. I'm so happy for you. Okay, if you have people that you can go to, amazing. Go to them, talk with them. Safe people who are not going to try to control you, who are not going to try to tell you you're good or bad if you do this. You got to be very wary, because people, even when they're trying to help you, they're trying to feed their own needs too. That's the hard truth. And it's not because I think people are evil. I'm saying that the ego at this point, we're all kind of just feeding each other off of each other for our own needs. That's the reality. And maybe they don't mean to, they're not bad people. The point is, you need safe people who are going to put your benefit first. Until you do it for yourself, you're not going to be able to perceive who's really caring about you. If you can't give yourself the best, safest place, the safest mind, the free will that I can make this mistake and I'm not a bad person, I can choose this and be different than you, and that's okay. If you can't do that for yourself, if you don't have that self-image or that self-love to be able to do that, you'll not be able to see who is actually going to be able to do that for you. Especially if you're doing that for everybody else, but you don't have people around you that can do that for you. Again, that's when you're not meeting each other and somebody's suffering the relationship quietly. You can delve so much deeper into each and every single little situation that I talked about. But the main idea is you have free will. You should be safe. Your life, your mind, your body, your emotions, your spirit, everything matters. But you must make it matter for you. Your happiness must be your first priority. Your safety must be your first priority. Your free will to enjoy this expansive, beautiful life to the maximum potential that you were put here to do is your responsibility. If you don't have the foundation or the understanding, one of the next videos that I'm going to do is what therapy is. If you need that and you're in an unsafe situation, you must start the healing process. If you've been physically abused ever at all, you're probably likely still containing that energy in your body and your mind and your heart and your soul. And that's going to close you up. That's going to make you bitter. That's going to, again, more prone to developing mental illness. And you don't even know it because you're not doing the practices of understanding it. So I'm putting this out in the ether for whoever needs that safety, that permission slip, that I deserve to be happy. I deserve to be free. I deserve to choose who I want to be with. I deserve to look like how I want to look and go through my process of becoming, because that is a lot of the times we are behaving and being and thinking and deciding based on everybody around us but ourselves. And then we put ourselves last, and then we wonder why we're tired, and then we wonder why we're so irritable, we wonder why we don't want to do anything, we think life is so boring and I'm getting old. It's because we're not thinking for ourselves and really giving us that space to be ourselves, decide for ourselves, forgive ourselves, and we're letting other people control and manipulate based on their needs. Once you actually get outside of yourself and work on this stuff, you can tell who really genuinely cares for you. You can tell who has issues. You can tell who's manipulating you. You can tell these things once you do that work for yourself. And this is like whether you're Desi or not, anybody, the hardest relationship to release from, or the perception, not even just the relationship, because you don't have to end your relationship with anybody. You can just keep a safe distance. You can reorganize the dynamic of the relationship, address your needs, assess if they're going to be able to meet your needs. You can do all of that through communication, through building up the courage to. The thing is, when you're also having these open conversations, you want to understand that likely not everybody will be able to catch you, and it's still going to be your responsibility to get yourself out of that situation. The parental relationship is one of the hardest to detach from. Just having a different perception on what do I need to do to receive and give love to this person. If I need to be the way that they need me to be, that's not a relationship, that's an attachment. And it's not even about attaching or detaching. It's also about, am I thinking like they're thinking? Am I thinking what they're going to think about me? Am I choosing based on their thoughts and their needs or my own? That's what I need to do and be things so you're happy. And that could be the strongest one is usually the people who raised you, because that's your strongest attachment. That was your first relationship that you had. And of course, the next one is your partner, marital spouse, especially if you weren't brought up that way to communicate, to feel, to share, to do those things. You can always heal. Of course, you can heal. You can work on it together. You can work on it yourself. Because if you're choosing based on somebody else's thoughts or needs, you're always going to fail. If you choose to make somebody else happy over yourself, you are always going to fail. And it's hard because you want to have that relationship. You care for them. You want to be there for them. You want them to be there for you. But it gets to be unsafe when you keep putting yourself last. Or you could be doing it to keep the relationship too. We're not innocent. No, none of us are innocent in this. We all are playing a role to meet our needs a certain way, and it's all because we're putting ourselves last. And I would probably say that the person that's getting physically abused is the innocent one. Nobody deserves to be abused physically. Nobody deserves to be yelled at or screamed day to day to day. You're not doing enough, ridiculed about everything. Like, you also want to see who just has a bad attitude and they're putting it onto you. And that could be your parents. That could be your partner. It could probably be your kids. I don't know. It could be your boss. Unsafe situation too. If you're in a job that you hate your boss, you hate your coworkers, that's a really unsafe situation, because that negative energy, whatever they're provoking in you, is going to spill out on you, and you're going to have financial leaks as well, for sure. You don't like your place of work, it's going to dampen your expansiveness, your creativity, and you're going to show up to work and you're going to hate it, and you're going to cap yourself at an income that you don't want to be in. Your money energy is not going to be right. That's also an unsafe situation for you. If you hate your boss and you're angry with them, it's a really unsafe place for you to be in, because one day you realize you become your boss. This is like a snapshot of my life, because I've dealt with all of this. Of course, helped way too many people deal with this. So I need to just put this message out there for whoever might need it. Get out of whatever abuse you're in. Understand that you should be happy. Every human should just be free and do what they need to do and not hurt themselves or each other. I'm not saying that there shouldn't be some rules or some standards, but when it comes to these conversations of abuse, manipulation, there's very, very clear lines of what our responsibility is for ourselves, because the more you stay with an abusive person, you become the abusive person. The more you stay in your parental abusive home, you become more prone to be in an abusive relationship when you leave that parent's home. The more culturally repressed you are, the more worried about what everybody else is going to think, the less your creativity can ensue, the less your creativity will blossom, and the less you'll be able to express yourself as a human being. Human expression, whether you're singing, dancing, playing an instrument, traveling, taking pictures, doing whatever you're doing, it doesn't matter. You could be a magician. Just do it, because you are a human being and you need to have that outlet. And children get very sparked up with doing what they're doing and they like it. That is good health. But we were conditioned that you're not going to make money from it. That's not practical. That's really stupid. Or you're not that good at it, not even giving you some time to get better. You're a human, living, spiritual being. You need to be creative. You need to be liberated. You need to be free. You need to choose yourself. And at that way, at least when you make the wrong decisions or bad decisions for you, you know how to get out of it. You know why you did what you did. You are there examining the situation yourself. Otherwise, you're doing it off of everybody else, and their thought is there for those 2 seconds when they're telling you about the situation, and they're gone. And now what you do? You can be resentful. Like, if you marry somebody because your parents told you to and you couldn't fight them off, and that person ends up being wrong for you, who are you going to be resentful for? To yourself or your parents? It's very easy to be resentful to your parents because they forced you, right? They told you that if you don't love me. That's a really shitty situation to be in. But I think for me, the way I dealt with it is that love is the most important thing to me in my whole entire life. And I didn't have that unconditional love in my childhood and growing up in the way that a human should be having. Many of us didn't. And I was not going to risk not having love in my life. I was not going to risk having them choose for me and that it was going to be a negative situation and be resentful for the rest of my life. It was way too important to me. And now everything is important to me. Everything is important to me. If I don't want to get up, I'm not getting up. If I don't want to go participate in something that I don't believe in, I'm not going to do it. You're a free human. You deserve to live the way you want. You deserve to like what you like. You deserve to heal what you need to heal. You deserve to go where you want to go. You deserve to do the job that you like to do. You deserve to have the business that you want. You deserve to explore whatever routes of faith that you want.